Aloha, and welcome to our very first episode of Inside the Senate. My name is Jacob Aki, and here you have the opportunity to get to know your state senators and hear directly from them on what's going on in the community and at the state capitol. Tonight, we're joined by Senate President Ronald D. Kouchi. Senate President Kouchi represents District 8, which includes the islands of Kauai and Niihau. Senate President, thank you for joining us. Oh, Senate President, sorry, I think you're on mute.
My pleasure, Jacob. Still learning how to cope in the new world we're living in today.
That's okay, but once again,
that's the hardest thing of my job.
Senate President, before we get into our conversation, can you tell us a little bit about you and how a boy from the west side of Kauai became the president of the Hawaii State Senate?
Well, I returned to Hawaii in 1982. I worked at the legislature during the 82 session for Dennis Yamada. He was a state representative from Kauai and the majority leader. When session ended, I went home and found out in the previous 10 years, there was a negative growth rate in West Kauai where I grew up. And I realized that decisions by elected officials that were made while I was in high school and away at college had a tremendous impact on my life. A lot of my friends did not return home after going to college, or they were re-enlisting in the military because there were limited job opportunities on the west side of Kauai. And I said, I really love living on Kauai. I want to make sure I can stay here. And people talked to me about running for the county council. I felt young people weren't being heard. And so I decided to run. And I was fortunate enough at age 25 to get elected to the county council. I served for the next 20 years, ran for mayor in 2002, successfully served for 3 years on the Kauai Island Utility Cooperative Board, did some private sector work. After 2 years back on the county council, I didn't win a re-election and thought I was done with politics. And Senator Hooser resigned to run for lieutenant governor. The seat was vacant. And after being encouraged by others in the community to run, I decided to run for the state senate, get involved in politics again. And probably the most significant factor in myself getting to the Hawaii State Senate is in 2010, my sons were both in college. And it never seemed to be the right choice as a Kauai council member to run for the state house or the state senate and spend so much time away from home when my sons were young. But my wife said she would be very supportive of run for the state senate. I was fortunate enough to be elected by the people of Kauai and Niihau, and after 5 years of serving in the Senate in various capacities, I got the support of my colleagues to become the president.
So you're the first Senate president from the island of Kauai. How important is it for our neighbor islands to be represented, not just here at the Hawaii State Legislature, but in leadership positions?
Well, there's a lot of concern that with 17 of the 25 senators coming from Oahu, is the neighbor island perspective going to be heard? And, so it's important to have that voice. Maui was fortunate enough to have Shan Tsutsui serve as Senate president. When I first got elected, I know John Ushijima had been Senate president from the Big Island. I'm not quite sure if there were other neighbor islanders who held the position. But, again, to make sure that the rural areas do have representation and a seat at the table, it's critically important. And then for Kauai, we had Richard Kawakami, elected as Speaker of the House, and tragically, a few months into his first term as Speaker, he was hunting on the island of Lanai on the weekend, couldn't get to the medical services in time, and he had died of a heart attack. And so Kauai had a brief stint with the Speaker, but it wasn't for any length of time.
So for those at home who may not be familiar with our legislative process, in a few short words, what is the role of Senate President?
Well, the president has a lot of administrative functions. So, on the external side, we have the speaker and the president oversee the ombudsman, the auditor, the ethics office, and the legislative reference bureau. In the Senate itself, we have the clerk, we have sergeant at arms, accounting, the IT people, the print shop, and a host of services, the Senate Majority Attorney's Office that I need to oversee. And then on a day-to-day basis to make sure that the Senate sessions run smoothly. There's a referral process that the Senate President is involved with. And then, of course, leading leadership meetings and helping set the agenda for the Senate. And I've been blessed to have a great team from the neighbor islands working from the Big Island. We have Senator Drew Kanuha from Kona, who's the caucus leader. Senator Inouye is the whip from Hilo. You have Senator English, who's the majority leader. Hana Molokai Lanai. Senator Keith Agaran is the vice chair of Ways and Means, is another whip from Kahului, and myself. So we've got a strong neighbor island representation on the leadership team. From Oahu, the Ways and Means chair is on leadership, Vice President Kidani from Mililani. And I should say Donovan De La Cruz is our Ways and Means chair from Wahiawa. Senator Ihara is from the Kaimuki area. Senator Taniguchi is from the Manoa area, and Senator Nishihara is from the Waipahu area. And so we meet weekly when we're in session and help set the agenda. And then the main thing, I kind of see myself as a volleyball setter and trying to set the big hitters up or the committee chairs and find out what are the bills that they're trying to pass and how can I assist them achieve their goals. And if the committee chairs are successful, then it'll mean that the Senate did a good job in moving our agenda forward.
So you are one busy guy. So folks, for folks at home, in addition to being the president of the Senate, Senator Kouchi is also the lone senator from Kauai County. So his job, other than running the Senate, is to make sure that the people of Kauai and Niihau are taken care of. Senator, what are some of your priorities for Kauai County? I know during this time, COVID, it's definitely something that we've never seen before. But for this legislative session, what are some of your main priorities?
Well, at this point, Kauai, under the leadership of Mayor Kawakami, has had a tremendous record in, ensuring the health and safety of the residents of Kauai. But as the COVID has lingered, we now find ourselves, paying an economic price for the outstanding health achievement that we've had. COVID has been very complicated because there's no middle ground or threading the needle. If you want to protect health, it does have an adverse impact on economic growth. By the same token, if you're going to reopen the island to have better economic growth, there will be an adverse health impact. It's just how much would that be? And so we're busy trying to find a pathway to get Kauai reopen, assist the businesses that are there while trying to maintain the outstanding health numbers that we've had. So that's the first priority for Kauai. The second is how do we make sure that our students aren't left behind in K through 12. And toward that end, I was able to work with the three Kauai representatives and private sector sponsors to help fund a program for training of teachers to be better distance teachers. I think everybody forgets that every teacher in the state of Hawaii was trained to do instruction in the classroom. And so, although you can get devices, and connectivity to students and teachers, we weren't trained to teach in that way. So they need to be trained. And then, I mentioned the devices and connectivity, but devices aren't available to every student. Connectivity is not available in our community. And the pilot program allowed us to purchase devices and to get hotspots to try and get connectivity to the students. There's a lot of discussion about the wage disparity before the pandemic. And during the pandemic, it has really highlighted the difference between the haves and the have-nots, and the minorities who were more adversely affected by the coronavirus. And so education is the great equalizer to really, bring our community together, lift up everybody, create better job opportunities, and try to get a better wage for everyone here and close that income gap. And then not just for the island of Kauai, but in the Senate, we feel that in the past 8 years, we've not raised the minimum wage. We understand the difficulty that businesses have been going through. But what we wanted to ensure is the fact that, by 2022, we would raise the minimum wage by almost $2. And trying to find the balance between the difficulty that businesses face, but also acknowledge that a lot of the frontline workers during the pandemic are those in the lower wage category, and they need to be recognized and treated with respect. That's a priority. And then lastly, today in the Senate, we moved out a bill that is trying to make improvements to our vote by mail procedures to make sure that the long lines at Kapolei don't happen again, that we have some more day of the vote, election day voting, and more drop sites so that we make it easier for people to vote. And I know that the Senate Judiciary Committee moved out automatic voter registration, and we want to be sure that everybody has a say in what their government does.
You brought up a really great point. One of the things that this COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted is really the need to build out our broadband and internet infrastructure. You, as well as a number of different neighbor island legislators, have been involved in what we're calling the broadband hui. Can you share a little bit about that broadband hui? Because if I'm not mistaken, you've been on every meeting since the hui first convened last
March 25th.
Yes.
What is really great, the first call on March 25th, there were 15 people on the call, and I fondly say that I was in quarantine because of close contact with a colleague who had tested positive. Didn't know what else to do with my time, so when this invitation came in, I accepted. I had no idea what Zoom was at the time. It's now grown to over 60 people. They have people from all over the country now, not just here. And what's important is that, I was most interested in how were we going to help students, because it appeared that with social distancing, the best we're going to have is blended scenarios where there would be distance learning involved. Well, we've had telemedicine people involved. We've had business people, and now we've seen people who are relocating to Hawaii to work remotely. Why the broadband would be so important to build up our capacity and diversify our economy. And then one of the great things is we've got more devices and connectivity to students. The Department of Education has permitted the people in the family to use the computers to do telemedicine so that we have access to telemedicine. Telemedicine's probably advanced 4 or 5 years in the past year, so it's going to bring medical services to underserved rural areas and at a better cost. And so the impacts are just amazing as to what has happened in the almost year that the broadband Hui has been meeting. And now Senator Schatz is well positioned in the new organization of the U.S. Senate to assist us with funding to get better Wi-Fi access for all the residents of the state of Hawaii.
As we've emerged into this new virtual world, the work at the Hawaii State Senate and here at the state capitol hasn't stopped. We've quickly learned how to use Zoom and other video conferencing platforms, but the Senate now operates almost entirely virtually. We have Senate members calling into Senate floor sessions, calling into Senate hearings. Can you talk about the process in which the Senate took to get to this point? Because as you said, this COVID-19 pandemic has really forced us to move quickly in some of these technology infrastructure areas. So can you talk about the Senate's virtual presence during this session?
No, I'm not really the best person to do that, Jacob. This is a time, and I know at a future meeting where Senator Kaeho Kalole will be a guest. Jarrett came in full of fire in his 30s, second or third youngest member of the Senate. And he was trying to explain to the rest of us about Facebook Live and streaming meetings and what everybody else is doing. And, instead of just disregarding him, I certainly felt that was the direction of where the future was going. So that was incorrect by me already. That was where the future already was. The future is happening right in front of me. Senator Kaeho Kalole, fortunately educated me. So we were starting there before all of this happened anyway. Once COVID hit and when we recessed and initially came back, we were limited to only 2 channels with Olelo. We were focused on the budget so we could make it all work, but it was written testimony only. And we heard loud and clear from the community that wasn't an ideal way to operate. Certainly, we had also had room 414 at the Capitol had been used by Senator Tokuda in the past, Senator Wakai in the past to try and have virtual meetings to assist neighbor islanders who couldn't come. Well, the COVID lockdown really advanced us a lot. So luckily, a lot of homework was done. And then we had to come back twice to confirm judges by ourselves. And so we were able to work with our IT staff to upgrade the system here to do virtual meetings. The House put the commensurate upgrades in on their side. And, we were ready for opening day to do the virtual meetings. And while it was really driven initially a few years ago about the concerns of the neighbor island people who couldn't get here, how expensive it was for airline tickets, the rent-a-car and everything else to come to Oahu to testify. In the COVID environment we live in now, you have a lot of seniors who advocate at the Capitol. You have people with underlying conditions who live on Oahu who may not feel comfortable if they were to come into a hearing room like we used to conduct hearings. And then certainly there are distant areas on Oahu, and it's not easy to get in from the leeward coast, East Oahu or the windward side at times. And so this really creates the opportunity and access for everybody.
So I just want to throw this pitch here is that for those of you at home, you can follow our Senate floor sessions and our Senate committee hearings by going to youtube.com/Hawaii Senate, and there you will find all of our live broadcasts as well as previous broadcasts of our committee hearings, and to also encourage everyone who wants to stay involved in what's going on here at the Hawaii State Capitol to go to our website, capitol.hawaii.gov, to create a account. In that place, you will be able to register to give written testimony, but you'll also be given the option to submit virtual testimony too. So those are some of the new changes that we've had here, and we'll see how the rest of our session goes. Senator, we are coming up with about 7 minutes left, and the last point I really want to get to is you were elected at the age of 25. You've been around politics for a long time. What is your message to those who want to get involved, whether it's running for office, working here at the state legislature, but what is your message to the next generation of youth coming up here in our state?
Well, to be engaged, I clearly was someone while I was going to high school and college who was not interested in politics at all and didn't pay attention to what the county council was doing or the Hawaii State Legislature. About the biggest excitement for me as a junior in high school was the fact that George Ariyoshi was running for governor, being half Japanese. He was going to be the first American Japanese elected as governor. It was a source of great pride in the Japanese community. My dad got me involved in doing things for Governor Ariyoshi, but it was really about his ethnicity at the time and not about the policies that he stood for. As it turned out, Governor Ariyoshi turned out to be a great visionary. He was very fiscally responsible, had the state of Hawaii in a great place, and in that regard, I did well. But as far as returning in '82, there still weren't affordable housing opportunities. There weren't the kind of diversity of jobs that attracted the best and brightest of Hawaii to come back home because they could make more money on the mainland. And so it does affect you. Whatever is happening is critically important, and the only way you can assure the outcome is to get involved. And Jacob has some notes for me, and he says, what is the hardest thing about your job? Well, I don't want to answer that question, Jacob. What I want to tell people is one of the greatest things about my job is there's so many incredible young people who come to work at the legislature for very little money because we are limited in what we can pay. But they're so committed and passionate about wanting to create that better Hawaii, the place that they can stay and they can live and they can raise their families. And it gives me great hope. We talked about me, so you know what? I'm going to flip the table. Let's talk about Jacob. Here's a young man. He was in the final two for one of the council districts here in Oahu. Unfortunately, he came up a little short in the election, but that was good news for us because he became our communications director. He's a new father. You can see the way he handles himself. When I talk about the young people that I get to work with every day at the Capitol, Jacob is one of those young people that I'm talking about. And now with the new addition to his family, his commitment to build that better and brighter Hawaii is stronger than it ever has been. And he's just one of so many people who are committed to do the job, but he's been engaged. He's been involved in his party politics, and he's put himself out for office. But you can also see that not being successful in the election was a lesson and a life experience that he took, and he's now building on to create a better Jacob Aki as he continues to go forward. So the other message to the young people is life is full of failures. True champions in life are the people who see the opportunity in the failure, and they do not let the failure break them, get them down, or make them quit. It's really about getting up, moving forward, and doing it in a better way the next time.
Thank you, Senator. We have about 3 minutes left, and we did have some viewers on Facebook and social media submit some questions. You may or may not be able to answer some of these questions, but we're going to give it a shot in the last 3 minutes. We have a viewer from the island of Maui who wrote, do you think the House proposal for consistent safe travel rules will get the same kind of support in the state Senate?
I don't think so, but I also am hopeful that we're working on reopening Kauai, and before the Senate needs to take a vote, we may see that Kauai is reopened in a way that may not require House Bill 1286 for uniformity here. Those people on Maui, they're very educated. They really ask tough questions, Jacob.
They do. They do. And we have another comment or another question that was sent in asking, Senator, where is your favorite place to eat?
I like to go get some okazuya from Fukuya's when I'm here on Oahu. And, I like Zippy's beanless chili. I enjoy blueberry pancakes at Original House of Pancakes, blueberry waffles at Eggs and Things. So I have my different places I go. But when I'm on Kauai, my brother's a really good cook, and my favorite place to eat is over at my brother's house where he does all the cooking, all the cleaning, and then I just have to eat and enjoy watching sports and talking with him.
We have a question from a female, and she asked, Senate President, you are from the island of Kauai, and during the legislative session, you are away from your wife. How does your wife feel about that?
Happy. What's unfortunate is my wife, when I've come to the Senate, hasn't had to return to work. She was very helpful doing Facebook, a lot of the social media. She's comfortable driving here on Oahu, so she used to be here quite a bit. And so with our children grown, I'm not dealing with some of the problems other neighbor island legislators are, being separated by the family. But during the COVID, since July, she's not felt comfortable coming back to Oahu. And then I've had extended time here because of quarantine rules. So it's been challenging, but you have FaceTime, Zoom, house party, a lot of different ways to connect. And so 7 a.m. I talk to her, and when I get back in the evening, I talk to her, and now and then in the middle of the day. And we've been together going on 33 years now, so we've got a strong relationship, and try to make it work. So far it has.
Well, this is a shout out to Auntie Joy. Senator, we are running out of time, so just wanted to thank you for joining us here on our first episode of Inside the Senate. And that's the alarm. But for those at home, please tune in with us every other Wednesday here on Olelo Channel 49. And we will see you soon. Aloha.
Thank you.